There is only a minimum of resistance to the leveling process which money as a goal exerts on various activities and interests. The determination and coloring that might affect the personality through his economic activity disappears. Obviously, such a livelihood can be successful or even possible only with a superior intellectuality in a form that one terms shrewdness, which means severing prudence from any determination by objective or ideal norms and making it absolutely subservient to relevant personal interests. As might be expected, uprooted people in particular are disposed towards these occupations, ones that lack the professional existence, that is the fixed ideal line between the person and his life, and equally they meet with the suspicion of being unreliable. Even in India the name of a commissioner or agent has sometimes become the name for someone who lives by cheating his fellow creatures. Those products of an urban existence whose sole aim is to make money by any means possible therefore need the intellect as a general function all the more because specialized knowledge is out of the question for them. They form a major contingent of that type of insecure personality which can hardly be pinned down and placed because their mobility and their versatility saves them from committing themselves, as it were, in any situation. These phenomena presuppose that money and intellect possess the common traits of neutrality and lack of character. They could develop only where these two factors coexist. The dual roles of both intellect and money, with regard to content they are superpersonal. The intensity of modern economic conflicts in which no mercy is shown is only an apparent counterinstance of such features of the money economy, since these conflicts are unleashed by direct interest in money itself. For it is not only that they take place in an objective sphere in which the importance of the person lies not only in his character but also in his embodiment of a particular objective economic potential, and where the deadly antagonistic competitor of today is the cartel ally of tomorrow. Rather, what is of primary importance is that the rules established within one sphere may be totally different from those considered valid outside that sphere but which are none the less influenced by them. A religion, for instance, can preach the gospel of peace to its members and still be very belligerent and cruel towards heretics and towards neighboring spheres of life. Similarly, a person may provoke in another emotions and thoughts that are completely antithetical to his own philosophy so that he gives what he himself does not possess. A movement in art may be completely naturalistic according to its own precepts and artistic ideas, and have a direct relation to nature and aim at the mere reproduction of it, yet the fact that there is such a loyal devotion to the appearance of reality and an artistic endeavor to reflect it represents an absolutely ideal moment in the system of life that, compared with its other constituent element, far transcends any naturalistic reality. Just as the acrimony of theoretical logical controversies does not affect the principle of conciliation inherent in intellectuality, for as soon as the dispute has shifted from the contrast of emotions or volitions, or the undemonstrable axioms based on sentiments, to theoretical discussion it can, in principle, be resolved. So equally the conflict of interests in the money economy does not affect the principle of neutrality that raises the controversy above personal involvement and that ultimately provides a basis for mutual understanding. Certainly there is something callous about the purely rationalistic treatment of people and things. Yet this is not a positive impulse but simply results from pure logic being unaffected by respect, kindness and delicacies of feeling. For this reason, the person who is interested solely in money is also unable to comprehend why he is reproached with callousness and brutality, since he is aware of the logical consistency and pure impartiality of his behavior but not of any bad intentions. The fact that life, regardless of all other consequences of intellectuality that sharpen conflicts and of the money economy that intensifies these conflicts, is thus no longer determined by the distinctness of character, may be designated as the objectivity of the lifestyle. This is not a trait that is added to intelligence, rather it is the very essence of intelligence itself. It is the only way open to man of acquiring a relationship to things that is not determined by the arbitrariness of the subject. Even if we presuppose that the whole of objective reality is determined by the functions of our mind, we still identify as intelligence those functions of our mind through which reality appears to us as objective in the specific sense of the word, regardless of how much intelligence itself may also be enlivened and directed by other forces. The most brilliant example of this is Spinoza, in whose philosophy we see a most objective attitude towards the world, every single act of inwardness is required to be a harmonious continuation of the inevitability of existence. Nowhere are the incalculabilities of individuality allowed to break through the logical mathematical structure of the unity of the world. The function that this concept of the world and its norms serves is a purely intellectual one. This worldview is itself subjectively built upon the mere understanding of things, and understanding suffices to fulfill its demands. This intellectuality itself is, however, based on a deep religious feeling, upon a completely supertheoretical relationship to the foundation of things which, however, never intervenes in the autonomous intellectual process. Generally speaking, the Indian people display the same combination. It is said of the most remote as well as the most modern times that the peasant could till his land undisturbed by the fighting armies of Indian states or by a hostile party. For the peasant is the common benefactor of friend and foe. Clearly this is an extreme instance of the objective treatment of practical affairs. What appear to be natural subjective impulses are completely eliminated in favor of a practice concerned only with the objective importance of the elements. The differentiation of behavior is governed only by its objective expediency, not by personal passion. But this nation was also fully attuned to intellectuality. It was at all times superior to others in strict logic, in the meditative profundity of its interpretation of the world, even in the austere intellectuality of both its most gigantic fantasies and its highest ethical ideals, yet it was inferior to many in radiating warmth of sentiments and in will power. It became a mere spectator and a logical designer of the course of the world, but this rested ultimately upon emotional decisions, upon the immensity of suffering out of which grew a metaphysical religious sense of its cosmic necessity, because the individual cannot cope with it, either in the emotional sphere or by diverting it into a vigorous life practice. This same objectivity of living conditions is itself also a result of their relationship to money. I have pointed out in an earlier context why trade represents such a considerable improvement over the originally undifferentiated subjectivity of man. There are still peoples today in Africa and Micronesia who know of no other change in ownership than in the form of theft and the gift. However, just as for more advanced peoples, objective interests are joined by and transcend the subjectivistic impulses of egoism and altruism, alternatives in which ethics unfortunately still confines human motivations, and just as devotion and commitment to such interests has nothing to do with the relationships among human subjects, but deals with objective expediency and ideals, so exchange evolved a change of ownership according to criteria of objective correctness and fairness, transcending the egoistical impulsiveness of theft and the no less altruistic impulsiveness of the gift. Money represents the moment of objectivity in exchange activities, as it were, in pure isolation and independent embodiment, since it is free of all the specific qualities of the individual things exchanged and thus per se has no biased relationship to any subjective economic element. Similarly, theoretical laws represent the independent objectivity of nature, in relation to which every individual case appears to be accidental, the counterpart to the subjectivity of man. The fact that, nonetheless, different people have very different relationships to money demonstrates money's complete independence from any subjective particularity. Money shares this quality with the other major historical forces which can be compared to large lakes from which one may draw from any side and draw all that the available receptacle allows according to its form and size. The objectivity of human interaction which, however, is only a formation of material originally offered.